Well, hello, thanks for joining me. If it's your first time, my name's Penny. I live in the southeast of England with my husband Pete and 4 chickens. It's a bit of a blowy day today and it's very, very sunny, but I've decided to sit up here in my crafty corner. I want to show you this jumper. I'm always wearing this jumper, especially when I'm filming. That's inside out, but here it is. Is this? And it's so easy to wear. Shove it on, pull it off, over everything. It's so comfortable. It's one of my go-to favourite jumpers. Wear it all the time. Okay, I've got another one. I did it in pink, inside out. You see, I'm shocking. I take my jumpers off. I just bung them away, inside out. I'm not a fuss pot like that. I did knit the sleeves the length they told you to, which was a bit of a daft thing, because they're too long. Of course, when you put them up against, you think they're going to be right, but they're down. You know, they're one of those down. You know, so they're too long. However, it really doesn't matter because I fold them over, and they keep my wrists lovely and warm when I'm out. You can wear jumpers underneath. They're so big. It's so big and roomy. It's gorgeous. Absolutely. Now, I pop these 2 in the washing machine in the week. I thought, give them a wash. I do it on a 30 wash. I take them out and I pop them. I'll tell you where I pop them. I've got a bath mat. I just hang them over the side of the bath. You're supposed to dry things flat and all of that. They never change shape. I've had these about 5 years of constant wear. I've also done this pattern. This is a different colour. It's got bits of red in it. Ever so pretty in real life. And this has got a hood. Oh, this has got a nice hood. Yeah. So when you got it on, it's really nice. It's lovely. And it's so quick to knit. I mean, they knit up like in the shake of a lamb's tail. I've got a green one of those with the hood. Do you think I can find it? It's always on the shelf in the wardrobe. Not there. Somewhere. So I've got some wool. I thought I'd show you the wool. Is it going to show you well? It looks darker. This is a very pretty green. It's got bits of orange and blue. It's very pretty. It's green. It's looking dark grey on there, but it's lovely. And I wanted to show you the book that it's from. I can highly recommend it. It's from the Croft Shetland Tweed book. So as I say, washes up so well. And what do you knit it on? Yeah, 4.5 and 5mm, which is a US 7 and 8, and comes from the Shetland Isles here. It's saying the Croft is available in 8 beautiful shades. Oh, named after the locations on the Shetland Isles. Yeah. And I love this collection. Shows you all the colours here. That shows you that green a bit better, doesn't it? And so the pattern I did was that one with the hood, and it's beautiful because it's shaped around here, so it gets longer in the front and shaped at the back. It's a very nice design, very nice. And then I did the blue one, didn't I? Oh well, and the pink one. Where's that? I'm flipping again. That's what I did last week, wasn't I? Hang on, I'll show you it. Oh, there's the hood. Shows you it nicely. and then that front is a bit longer in the front. It's shaped round there. I didn't do 3/4 length sleeves. I thought if you've got a hood and a lovely one that covers your bottom, I did the long sleeves. It tells you for the long sleeves, middle or long. Of course, I did the long. I can't find you that other pattern. It's got lovely scarf patterns and hat patterns. It's a beauty. It's got so many versatile ones. It's perfect. It's perfect. So this is what I want to do. I want to do it for Pete. But, you know, I've got a list of things that I'm doing, so I don't really want to start anything new, but it wouldn't take long to knit up. And he does fancy it. I fancy that cable one because I know it's going to knit up well, wash well, and be one of those jumpers he can just pull on and, you know. And they're so warm, beautiful. So that I've told you all about. It's taken me 10 minutes to tell you all about that. And it's going to be a shorter one. Well, probably it won't because once I start. But it's going to be a shorter one because I was going to say I'm getting my house Bristol shape. No, I'm getting my house ship shape and Bristol fashion. If you haven't heard the saying, it's a very well-known phrase and saying here. Ship shape and Bristol fashion. That's what we say. And I was just thinking about it before I came on. Ship shape and Bristol fashion, that's what I'm doing with the house. Where does it come from? And apparently, I did jot down a note in my journal. It means to get things in good order, and that's what I'm doing with the house. Because at Bristol, it was a very big port, and it had a very low tide. Actually, it was one of the highest, you know, and lowest that there is, second in the world actually, would be a difference of 43 feet or 13 meters. And what would happen if the things weren't packed away in the ships really properly, low tide, when the keels went over, everything would go. So it all had to be stowed away properly. And that's where the saying comes from, ship shape and Bristol fashion. Well, I'm getting my house ship shape and Bristol fashion because tomorrow I've got friends coming to stay for a few days. And whilst my house is clean, it's always clean. You could pop in and have a coffee anytime and feel okay. It wasn't ship shape and Bristol fashion. It needed a bit of TLC. You know those jobs? The knife drawer. I've got a larder, the larder floor. You know those little jobs where when people stay, you just feel you want them to be what we call, my friends and I, scurry-funged. And that's what scurry-funged means. It's it's an old English word that means, yeah, to get going and go round and get things prepared for when people pop in. So that's what I've been doing the last few days. And I'm going to finish this afternoon. And yeah, it'll be nice. They're coming tomorrow and staying for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'm doing Chinwag this week a bit earlier than I normally do so that I can be with them. Now, I'm going to put up the fascinating fact here. It's about the bar-tailed godwit. We don't get them around here. I expect we do if we just go a bit along to Ramsgate and that, but I haven't actually got a photo myself of one, although I've seen hundreds, but not just down here walking round. And yeah, it's quite a story about it, really. So I'm going to put that fascinating fact up now, and I'll see you the other side. During spring and summer, adult bar-tailed godwits have dark brown and grey backs and brick-red heads, necks and underparts. In winter, they are streaky grey above and white below. When they fly, bar-tailed godwits have a barred tail and a white wedge on the rump and back. Their feet only just stick out past their tail. Bar-tailed godwits often commute between the Wash on the east coast and the estuaries of northwest England, sometimes moving back and forth between the two overnight. The Godwit makes one of the most amazing migrations known to man. The bird's 7,000-mile or 11,000-kilometre journey can take more than 8 days. Researchers speculate that some types of birds use the Earth magnetic field for navigation, as if they had a compass built into their brain. It is possible that the Godwit additionally navigates by means of the sun by day and the stars by night. It seems that the Godwit can also sense upcoming storm systems that could allow it to benefit from tailwinds. Still, the details of just how these birds make their incredible journey baffle experts. I've been studying them 20 years, says biologist Bob Gill, and it's still jaw-dropping to me. Well, that's fascinating, isn't it? Imagine all that 7,000 miles. It just, I can't get my head around it really, and neither can they, the people that look into it. It's just phenomenal, there and back. And also to go from one side of the country in the UK to the other side of the country, overnight, and there and back. What a marvellous bird. You just see it down there on the seashore and you don't put all those facts together. So I thought you might be interested. Now, I had a little chat with Mum about moving from Harlow to Tottenham. And Tottenham now is a very, very busy area. The Spurs ground was just at the bottom of the road. But where we lived, I found out, I did a bit of research in doing this little chat with Mum. And where we lived, just at the top there, Bruce Castle, it was quite a quiet place. Yes, if you went down the high street, and of course now it's really busy. But where we lived, we had the flat, which had 8 big conker trees in the garden and backed onto very old almshouses, which were beautiful and still there. They're still there. And I put a photo up of them as they are today. I put a photo up of the flat that I lived in as it is today. They're not changed really, not at all. And Mum tells you all about it. I think it must have been a big change for her to go from a very modern, light, beautiful flat in Harlow to this flat that I put a picture up. Although my brother's not born, he was born in 1956, and this is 54 we're talking about. There's a little picture of him crawling, and you can just peek into the kitchen. And I think, oh, yeah, it was just a table and a sink, and Mum says no cupboards in that flat whatsoever. And I can remember my dad was a sheet metal worker, and he built me a cupboard that he put over the bed. He used to make everything out of sheet metal. And one night, it must have been so heavy with my books and my toys in, above my bed, above the head, my head in the bed. And one night it fell off the wall. Honestly, it could have killed me. But I was all right. Mum and Dad just scuttled me out and said, oh, go and get into our bed, dear. And it must have shaken them up because, yeah, but everything we had, Dad would make out of sheet metal. But it was a very basic kitchen. Mum said no cupboards in it. Yeah, a table, a sink, a washing machine. She said when Chrissy was born in 1956, then she got the fridge, and but it was very basic and very small, a little square one. We had a dining room table in the sitting room, which was a very small room too. So I loved it though. It was so homely. But opposite was this little park. So Mum would see me across the road. I'd walk through this little park. And I remember one day when I was walking, it must have been when my brother was born, and Mum had seen me across the road and said, you'll be all right, love. And I walked through the park, and this man stopped me and said, would I like to go for some sweets? And I stood there. I can see myself standing there. Shall I? Shan't I? No, I better get back to school in case they tell me off. course, from my perspective now, thank goodness I did. I went in, told the teacher. She said, "Why are you late?" And I told her this man had stopped me. She disappeared. She must have gone out to see who was out there. They took it seriously. Yeah, even in those days. But yes, we often used to be out and about on our own. Anyway, I used to walk through the park to the little school, which was just somebody's house. It was a very nice house, and I do put up a photo of it, which in 2013 I went back and had a little, reconnoitre, and I took a photo. It's still there, and it's still a school. Two of the bedrooms were classes. Downstairs, 2 downstairs rooms were classes too. There was just 4 classes. It was very, very nice. But I used to walk through, and there was this castle, Bruce Castle. I've never understood why. So for this little film, I did a bit of research. It's the House of Bruce, and it's the 3rd manor of Tottenham. Tottenham was divided into 3, and it was one of the 3. And in 1306, Robert the Bruce became King of Scotland, and he forfeited his lands in England. The house is the earliest use of brick as a building material. So, I mean, it's going right back. And there it is in Tottenham. It's amazing. 1684, it was remodelled, and the court rolls of 1742 refer to the repair as having a drawbridge and a moat. So at one time it was a proper castle. In 1516, Henry VIII met his sister Margaret, the Queen of Scots, there. And at the beginning of the French Revolution, a wave of refugees came over, and they settled in Tottenham, and they settled around Bruce Castle. It was a school, and Dickens visited it in 1872, and the Great Eastern Railway opened a direct line from Enfield to Liverpool Street, and that line allowed labourers and workers to get to London and work more easily, and so Tottenham then started to be developed. And by the end of the 19th century, it was only the land around this castle and the waterlogged floodplains of the River Lee and the marshes and Broadwater Farm that were undeveloped. And in June 1892, it was made the first public park in Tottenham. And so I used to walk through that little park to the little school. So I'm going to let you listen to Mum now. She tells you a little bit more about moving from Harlow to Tottenham in 1954.
Well, we've left Harlow now. It's 1954, and you're 5, and we've moved to Bruce Castle Court in Tottenham, the block of flats that Dad's employers owned, and we're in a nice ground floor flat with 2 bedrooms and a nice little kitchen and a sitting room and a bathroom. And the bathroom had a very antiquated, is that the right word? Antiquated. Anyway, antique.
Yeah.
Gas heater.
Oh, right.
That used to drive me mad.
Well, I remember sitting in that and you having to come along with kettles and warm it up.
Yes.
Sitting in the bath and you warming it up.
Oh, it was just a great headache to use that, but it's still, we could have a bath of salt. We had a shared communal garden.
8 big, huge conker trees.
Yes, it was lovely.
Yeah.
And although we shared it, it was lovely. We had our own little bit, really.
There was never anybody out there.
No, it was often only us.
Yeah.
And I had my first coal bunker there. It was lovely because even though coal was very short and you had to wait sometimes to get a delivery.
Oh, it was short.
And to get deliveries and to get big lorries
Well,
and
everybody
things.
used coal, Mum.
Yes.
You think
that
about
was,
it.
That was, we did have in one of the main bedroom there, we did have a 1-bar electric fire.
Did, I remember it.
But that was the only bit of electric heat we had there.
Yeah.
So it was lovely to have the coal bunker, because then when coal was delivered, it was able to be tipped into the bunker, and I was able then to go out and fill up the coal scuttle.
I remember, you see, I just remember my memories in the winter of coming home from school. We'll talk about that in a minute, where I went, but a roaring fire, and you airing the clothes round the fire.
Yes.
And we had a tiny little television, Mum.
We had a 9-inch. And when we got a 12-inch, we thought that was absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
And the 9-inch, and it was just black and white.
Yeah. And one of those moquette 3-piece suites. It was red in like little bits of,
Yes.
I loved it.
It was covered in like chenille with a raised pattern.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was lovely, but very small rooms in that flat, Mum. It must have been very different for you.
And in the winter, after the fire had gone out, and you'd get up in the morning to clear the grate, the windows would be iced up.
Would they?
Yes, because there was no other heat in that room except the coal fire.
Oh no, we were always chilly-billy,
weren't we? You often had to scrape the ice off the indoor windows because it was so cold.
We always had vests and wincy pyjamas, didn't we?
Yes. Yes.
Hot water bottles, I mean.
Yes, we kept.
Yeah.
And we had our first car there, a little Morris. And I remember that when we used to go out in the cold weather there, we had no heaters in the car.
All right.
We used to wrap our feet in newspaper sometimes and take a hot water bottle if we did go out in the evening. But that was a very small car, but that was lovely because that was our first nice car.
Nice car.
That was lovely, yes. Now you went to school.
Yeah.
You were 5 then, and you left Fedston in Harlow.
Yeah.
Just at the right time to start in a little school which was within walking distance.
Well, I used to just literally cross over the road, which you'd see me across, and then I'd walk through this little park, Bruce Castle Park, and that's where there was a castle in it because it was Robert the Bruce's castle.
It was lovely. It was a lovely spot. Also, we were not far away. We had to go down Bruce Grove to the main shops in the Tottenham High Road. Yeah. We had little shops opposite us, small shops. There was a wool shop and a little grocer's and the newspapers, newsagents.
How did you do your shopping?
Well, there was in the High Road, there was the big co-op. Yeah. There was Sainsbury's, which was, of course, was a different life altogether then compared to today. You had to queue at every counter, cheese, bread, all the different counters, meat, and be served. And they took a note of how much you had spent at each counter, and then you waited till you got right to the end. They'd got a note of exactly how much it all was.
Went up to the office?
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
and that was all done on like an electric wire.
On a wire. But I remember Sainsbury's being quite small. So if you wanted butter, what did they do?
Well, they had to cut off a big block of butter, how much you needed and weigh that, and then it was wrapped in greaseproof paper and then put in a separate bag.
And sugar?
And sugar was weighed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go in a little bag?
Yes, and sugar, because sugar was, they'd just finished rationing then.
Just finished rationing all these years. 1945 the war ended,
right,
and here we are at 54. It's just ending.
Just finished, yes, and that was lovely not to have any ration books or things marked or everything.
So you went back to eating meat then?
Yes, we did.
And then there was the co-op. So the co-op was big, wasn't it, in Tottenham?
The co-op was bigger than Sainsbury's, a big co-op, and we were registered at the co-op because everything that you spent in the co-op, if you joined the co-op, then you saved up however much you had spent. They kept a record of that and gave you a little note that you kept.
Your divvy.
The dividend, that's right. And you remember my dividend number?
Well, I do, because I must have been standing by your side when you paid every time. But I think they had one of those sucker things, didn't they?
Yes, that all went up. That went up to the ceiling. Yes,
up like that in a tube.
Yes,
and then they come back down and change.
Yes,
so there was no
right.
tills on the floor.
No,
but all up and down.
The big cash registers weren't out then.
Right. Yes.
Probably maybe some of the West End shops may have had them, but they were still the old-fashioned
And when
way.
we looked it up, it did say that the reason that was in situ and it hadn't got changed yet was because a lot of people couldn't read and write.
Right. Yes.
And so therefore the office staff did all the money, if you see what I mean. And that it was all in situ and it all carried on, you know. But I remember that, and interesting during these times that the co-op, I just read in one of your papers you gave, Pete, that the co-op are taking on 3,000 more people because during this time they've done so well.
Yes.
People like their local co-op.
Yes.
Still going on.
Yes, it always was a very big, like you couldn't call it a family, but, most people, and people still feel that now. Yes, I think.
But I just wanted you to tell me about your washing machine in the kitchen. What your kitchen was like in Bruce Castle.
Well, the kitchen was quite small, really, but I had my first little washing machine there.
And inside, you used to have to.
I had a little ringer.
And used to yank it up and put it on the
ringer
side.
went down when it was empty. It had a hose pipe that you could put in the sink then and then
so then
drain
we had
it off.
Near the sink, but the sink with this wooden
top,
wooden
draining
board, and then a table really for you to. Wasn't like work surfaces, was it? It was a table.
No, we had a table with a flap. With a covered in
Formica type
Formica,
thing?
Yes, and that was Formica was just about coming in then. You could move that around and wherever, and the same with the washing machine. You
used to pull it out.
Tuck it, and tuck
big
away.
pair of
with
tongs.
Her tongs,
and
to get
all the washing out.
And but the ringer was lovely because you could, it was only small. It was only very small.
It was about that
wide,
that's
Mum.
Right. And you used to have to double things over to get them through.
It did. Just after Chris was born, it was lovely because you could do the nappies through there, and they were all the water was out. That was lovely. And then when the ringer went down, then the lid came down, and the lid matched the side of the.
And I would think that you put things on that if you
then we could use the top.
Use the top
Yes. And after Chris was born, that was when we had our first fridge.
Oh, righty-ho.
But before that, when we made jellies or anywhere, you had to put them out in the cold or somewhere that was cool for them to set. And it's hard to think now that...
And these flats were built in the 1930s. They had crittle windows and they were very Poirot-ish.
Yes.
That flat in Harlow was quite something new, and now you're going to these 1930s flats, which were...
Yeah, it was completely different.
I suppose they were only, when you think about it though, Mum, you say that, 1930s built, but that was only 20-odd years, wasn't it?
Yes, they weren't very old,
No,
really.
but now they're sort of all Poirot,
Yes.
So, but the metal windows must have been quite hard to keep clean.
Yes. But you really did have to have a good spring clean.
Good spring clean, because of all the fires and that's why you did it. And then I remember Chrissy being born, which we're going to start next time, but the winter that Chrissy was born in 1956.
That was a bad winter. It was awful until he was about 4 months old. It was snow and then slush. And
of course he was born January the 9th.
Yes, 9th. That was the worst winter that you could have thought of to have a baby, really.
Yeah, because I just remember being in with this new baby and getting the clothes dry and you know, me not wanting to go out, basically, because I didn't want to go to school.
No. And the roads were all slippery. Yes, it was.
Because just outside, we had our flats there, Mum, but we were right at the top of Bruce Grove.
Yes.
And the trolley buses used to come round, and trolley buses then, they worked on wires.
Yes.
And you used to have a man with a pole, because the wire would come...
They'd come off the wire.
Off the wire. Yes. And as they came round there, because it was slippery and all that, often you'd see a man with a pole putting the pole back up there before they went down to Bruce Grove.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a nasty little corner.
It wasn't
where we lived.
Like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think then we'll leave that.
Yeah.
The next one will be about Christopher, the birth of Christopher.
Yeah.
And the different sort of hospital that I went to.
Very different thing, wasn't it?
Yes, to when I had you. Yeah. Completely different. Yeah. Different world entirely.
So, we'll start
next lovely,
time.
Yes.
All right then.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I hope you found it interesting. So just to end this week, I'm going to put up a little film of our holiday. I haven't even put the photos in order. I've just plopped them up there. And so, yeah, they're all over the shop. But Tresco and St Agnes and St Mary's and St Martin's and Briar are 5 little islands off the southwest coast of Cornwall in the UK. There's no cars, there's no public transport on there. So if you want to get anywhere, you walk. There's a few cars for the people that live there on St Mary's. So there are, a few cars, but not many, because it's the largest of the islands. But all the other islands, if you want to go from A to B, you walk. And so we've been holidaying there for the last, last 14 years, every year. We go for 2 weeks in the spring. We're not going this year because of the way things are and travelling and all of that. Don't need to go into all of that. So I thought I'd put the holiday snaps up just from a few years. We've taken various friends with us over the time. And we have a little cottage that you can look out and see the sea. It's beautiful. So a timeshare cottage. So, but we're not going this year. Maybe next year. We'll see how things go. So that's the holiday snaps. And you get there by helicopter. It's 26 miles off the Cornish coast. And from Penzance, you get the helicopter, which takes 15 minutes, no time at all, and lands on Tresco, which is where we stay. So I'll love you and leave you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Every week's different. You never know what you're going to hear or see, do you? But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. And I'll see you next week, all being well. Take care of yourselves. Bye.